like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
Visit StogieGeeks.com/Debonaire for a list of retailers who carry Debonaire cigars. Buy some today and get a little more Debonaire.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geeks Show. This is our Debonaire Ideal segment for this evening. We're going to talk about cigar dinners. Coincidentally enough, there is a cigar dinner which happens every Monday night, which unfortunately overlaps with when we do the show, by Mr. J's Havana Smoke Shop, which is kind of like my pick in New England, I think, for what I call the no-brainer cigar dinner. And I think there's different categories, Will, as I was thinking about this segment. There's like the no-brainer ones, which are less than $50, which you can just go to, have some good food, maybe some spirits. Oftentimes, I'm just going to go right into it, Will. Oftentimes, you get a free whiskey or bourbon tasting with that. And then you get cigars with that, and sometimes you get the people who represent the cigar brand. They give like a little presentation. Sometimes it's a tasting. I think for me, like that Monday night series that is done by Mr. J's Havana Smoke Shop here in the winter is probably, ventilation's a little tough, but other than that, I think is one of the like perfect no-brainer cigar dinners that you can go to. And that's one class, right? Like I said, it's less than $50. And anytime you can eat, drink, and smoke for like less than $50 for $50 or less, to me, that's a no-brainer. Like, call up all your friends and just go. Like, even if you just go once during the season, you got to go at least once. You can't miss that kind of event that's bringing together all of those wonderful things. And all of them are really different. And I've never had a bad cigar. I've never had a really bad meal, bad whiskey. Like, there's nothing you can really complain. I mean, yeah, it gets a little smoky, but there's nothing you can really complain about, because it's a $50 or less buy-in, and you're having a good time out with your friends. I've made new friends at these events. I think it's one of the best for me in the area that I've been to. Now, granted, the guys at Mr. J's are good friends of mine, but for me, it's one of the best cigar dinners that I've ever been to.
Yeah, we have tomorrow, and this was kind of the impetus of this thing. We have one of those no-brainers tomorrow in Charlotte. It's our Super Bowl, I think, event in Charlotte as far as cigar events go. George Padron is coming. He comes to Charlotte every other year for a cigar dinner at the Palm. So this is a more premium event.
The Palm is a high-end steakhouse here in Charlotte.
Yeah. It's $100, but you get 3 Padron cigars, and you know a lot more about it. But this event in particular, what I always like about it is there's 2 things. First of all, we get a lot for our value with this. You're getting, if you add up everything, it's more than $100, right?
Yeah.
But George Padron is very personable. I mean, we're supposed to interview him tomorrow. I'm hoping that pulls up. But even if we don't, we're going to get time with him, we know, because he's very accessible at this event.
Yeah, and the events are, like you said, 3 Padron cigars, which end up retailing for about $45 to $47. And then they have heavy hors d'oeuvres during happy hour. And then at 7 o'clock, there's a 3-course meal that comes. And then they have open cash bar as well.
And how much is that event?
It's $99.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. To do once a year, that's a no-brainer. To do that every other week or once a month, I think the Mr. J's one is the second Monday of every month or something like that throughout the winter. So they price it a little less to get people to go to the series. But if it's $100 for that one night, that's a no-brainer for me. Especially 3 Padron cigars. That's awesome.
Yeah. If you notice with Mondays though, cigar dinners tend to fall early in the week because it's the slower time at the restaurant. Mm-hmm. Which is probably Milzone's it makes all the sense in the world. The Padron event's usually a Monday or Tuesday. I've seen it. Usually they try to do it on a Tuesday, I've noticed, in Charlotte.
They pick a slow day. Mondays, Tuesdays.
Yeah, they pick those slow days. And they actually they have to shut down the whole restaurant.
They do that, yeah. Melance's is where Mr. J's has it. They're technically closed on Monday, and they call it basically a private event. and they allow smoking. They have upgraded their smoke eaters, which has made it a lot more enjoyable. I have heard on the flip side of things, when a cigar event goes wrong, I have heard of places that like have never had a cigar event there, and then they're doing it in the winter, right, because it's their slower time. Because in the summer, people are out here in New England a lot more often. Most people are on vacation July and August. I think the restaurants do well here in the summer in Rhode Island. There's a lot more tourists. So typically here in the Northeast, you'll see cigar events happen during the winter to try and generate business because it's cold and you can come into a warmer indoor setting and have cigars. But some of them have gone like completely south because historic Federal Hill, for example. I know there's been a couple of attempts to have a cigar event at a restaurant on Federal Hill that has never had a cigar event before, and people sat down and like the smoke alarms are going off, the fire department's there, and people actually left. More than one time I've heard of this happening. So it can go sideways. So make sure you talk to your friends. Make sure you do it with an established retail shop that you have a relationship with, and it'll work out for you. But it can definitely go sideways. Yeah,
and that's what we've seen. The ones that Tinderbox of Charlotte does, they do it. They do one. Like I said, Padrones every other year, and then they usually bring in a pretty big name for the other year. Like last year, it was Bobby Newman of J.C. Newman. Yeah. They've had in the Fuentes have been in. So this is like this first Tuesday in December is when we know that it's been a staple since I've been down here.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of cigar dinners here in Rhode Island. One that was really good that wasn't done by Mr. J's was done by another shop, the Humidor. Those that are familiar with Stogie Geeks, we interviewed Jana Pulowski. Actually, that's not her name now, but that's her family name. The Pulowski family has owned the Humidor here in Rhode Island for many generations. Yep. And they did one, I believe they did one with the Beach Club that I belong to. And they did it in the summer, and they had like a surf and turf kind of meal, and you're all outside underneath the tent. There's a bar, and you're all having cigars, and it's outside, and it's on the beach, but you don't get all the wind from the beach because it's kind of in this middle area of the beach club that's sheltered from all the wind, but it's still outside, so it doesn't get really smoky, and it has that summer Rhode Island kind of feel. You're having surf and turf. That was one of my favorite events that I attended as well. So you got to keep your eye out at your local cigar stores for those kind of events, because that was a really good one. The Humidor did another event that I thought was really good. My wife thought it was just okay. We went as a couple, which, if you're going as a couple, it can be hit or miss with the cigar event. We went as a couple to this one. You have a cigar at the cigar store, and next door there was a restaurant, and you went next door, and you couldn't smoke in the restaurant, but you had dinner and dessert, or you had dinner in the restaurant. Then you went back to the cigar shop, had another cigar, and they served dessert in the cigar store. I thought that was thinking outside the box. My wife had a good time. It wasn't the best cigar event ever, but I thought it was a really great attempt at doing a really great event. They used to do other ones at that particular location, which is closed down, where they serve food and booze inside the store, and you have the cigars in the store. I think it was a Drew Estate event where Marvin actually was there. That was really cool, and I have fond memories of that. But it was okay. I mean, the food was kind of just okay. I think anytime a cigar shop can do a dinner, right, where a cigar manufacturer helps out with the cost, and a liquor distributor or the liquor company helps out with a liquor tasting, and you can get in for $50, $100, those are the ones you want to attend and see how it goes, because that's a pretty cheap buy-in, right? Basically, you go and you buy a ticket maybe, and the way they did it, which I thought was awesome, Will, we've talked about this on the show in the past, right? Say I buy a ticket for $50, my $50 can be applied towards a box, which I get 10 or 15% off, and I get 3 free sticks when I buy a box, and a free prize. I've seen events like that. I mean, that's the killer combination. Plus, I went to the event, and they had a buffet of okay food, but they had a liquor person there who was giving out free samples of Johnny Walker and some other kind of bourbon. Those are events you should attend, in my opinion. I mean, it's sometimes, it's not always a win-win, but Some are better than others, but I think for the most part, it's a great, call up your buddies and go, and you're going to have a good time overall. And like I said, some are better than others. I think overall, the Mr. J's Monday night ones, as far as consistency and value, are the ones that I would recommend.
Yeah, that's the one where you went and you interviewed Michael Herklotz at, right? Was that the same thing?
Yeah, I've interviewed a couple of people at his events at Malonzi's. That's the one that I would say consistently, and they've done different things, but consistently, it's always like a really good time. Like I always come out of that like I'm really glad I went kind of thing. Yeah, I have to fumigate my clothing when I come out, but
absolutely,
I think no matter what cigar dinner you go to, it's going to be smoky. I think that's just table stakes.
They're not, because most of the restaurants, they're, like you said, it's a private event.
Yeah.
They don't have, now especially we're 8 years into the smoking ban of restaurants in Charlotte, they don't have a lot of these smoke eater systems either. So you do have to, that's something you're just going to trade off with it. There's no way around that.
I agree. Yep. Now, what about near you guys? I know, Will, you and I had a cigar at JR's, and they do events in there. That was a great venue. It's
a great venue. I mean, I think they've catered in some events there a few times. I know with the grand opening series, they did that. They had the so they tend to do that. They tend to do barbecue a lot on the Saturdays. I've seen over at the events there.
Yep, that's a North Carolina thing. Yep,
yeah,
for sure.
So Paul's up at the J&R in Mooresville, and
nice location.
Real
nice location.
And I think he was amazed because he hadn't seen the new JR when he went in there.
And they went full out with the bar.
Yeah, but what I've discovered, Paul, and there's very few retailers capable of pulling off the dinner. It's a tougher event to pull off than in your store or even at a third-party location. There's more moving parts at this, and at the same time, a lot of times the retailer has to set up they want to sell cigars there too that night. I don't know how the ones are with Mr. J's, but I mean they do with the Tinderbox events. They have a mobile store set up. I mean,
Mr. J's have done that. The launch of Indian Motorcycle Premium Cigars was at the club right near my house. It's like a private club, a club Jocks they call it.
Right.
And he's had some really good events there as well. And that's a much larger event. The food is usually pretty good. You can't smoke inside the place, but they set up tents and tables outside to smoke. That was a really good event. And he has the mobile store set up so that when you go to the event, you can buy boxes at a discount and you get T-shirts and stuff like that. And there's a cash bar. And since it's like what are those clubs they have all across the world? What is it called? The clubs that you join. And they have liquor really cheap, essentially. Club Jocks is an example of that. I can't think of it. Anyway, it's kind of like a Shiners, but not. It's the other one.
Right.
The Elks Club. Thank you.
The Elks Club, yes. There we go.
So the Elks Club, it's kind of like an Elks Club kind of deal. I know we have an Elks Club here in, my family belongs to one in West Warwick, Rhode Island, where Mr. J's is. And I remember them being stuck in North Carolina, Will, where you are, and they visited an Elks Club, and they welcomed them like family, like they were fellow Elks, like brothers. But these clubs will sometimes partner with cigar places, and they'll have an event. And you can buy it's like a $3 or $4 or $5 glass of wine, but it's like a double pour. So they can get away with selling alcohol at a much lesser rate. So while it's not open bar, you get like that club discount on alcohol. And I know when I've been there with my in-laws, like I'll order, a beer with it in the big mug, and it's like $3 or whatever, and it's like a Shock Top or a Sam Adams seasonal, and it's a good beer for that price. So ones that have been at those clubs are pretty good. So.
There's something else that they do. Food is kind of optional at these events, but Tinderbox will partner with a local brewery here in town called Old Mecklenburg Brewery, and what they'll do is they'll throw I think it's like $15 or $20, gets you you pick your beer of choice, and they'll give you 2 or 3 cigars for the event when we have someone in, whether it's Willie Herrera or someone like that. And so what they do is the brewery will also have like a food truck that comes out on the side, and they'll one food truck it'll have like pulled pork, the next one they'll have like tacos
Nice.
or whatever, stuff like that, which is really nice. And it's outdoors. It's dog friendly. People, mixed company comes in, bring your dogs and stuff, and that makes for a really nice night. From 5 to 8, and it's for $15 or $20. That's a no-brainer as well.
Yeah, for folks who saw the interview with Rocky we did last week, that's where it was. It was at that old Mecklenburg brewery, and Rocky. That's where they brought Rocky Patel in. A little bit of a different event.
That's not the beer. That's not the beer they have at the JR's.
Yes,
is
it is.
Okay, that's really.
That was the one
by the way, that is really good beer.
Yeah,
OMB makes some really nice
I want to get Paul down to OMB next time. His time was really limited, and it was a little further away from where he was. But yeah, I think Paul. And what's great about that is, they just have some. It's all those limited edition seasonal beers they have too, which is really cool.
I really like that beer a lot, actually.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to take a short break? We're going to come back and do a hot topics. Is that what we're doing?
We'll do a hot topic. Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
Let's grab my cigar.